We are going to start with, I'm going to unfold a blanket over my mat just because I want a little bit of cushion under my lower back. Okay, so let's meet there on your back. And you might like to have, rather than something to cushion the whole of you or some specific bony landmark, you also might like to have support under your head, a little bit of height behind your head. If your shoulders, if you're a little rounded in the shoulders or the upper back, and you just want a little extra space for your shoulders to come down, that means that you might want your head a little bit elevated. But we're going to start lying down, and let's start with the arms down by your sides and your feet standing on the floor, and make a little space between your heels and the backs of your hips so that your legs feel like they're at something more or less like 90-degree bends at the knees. You can sense that you have a little more space in the hollows of your knees. And let's take another minute or two to retrain awareness to scan. Just come back and touch here, first of the year, and train awareness to scan. Develop again, just redevelop, keep developing that felt sense where your feet meet the floor. And any sense of just restlessness, a little kinetic energy in your toes, in the muscles of your toes, your feet. Upward through the lower legs. So sense calves, sense the backs of the legs, the heavy muscles on the backs of the legs. Might try to have a sense of the front of the legs, the shins or your shin bones. Extend from ankle to knee. And can you sense at your knees where your knees might be falling in toward one another more, or they might be wanting to just under their own weight, and the way your joints are situated, they might want to fall more outward. So let the position of your knees give you a sense of maybe any tightness along the inner thighs. Or the outer hips, and then just sense all around the circumference of your upper legs, the muscles, the big muscles of your legs. Hamstrings, some sense of your outer thighs, some sense of the tops of your thighs. And from there down into the big spaces of your hip joints. The position of your pelvis, where that puts the pressure that it puts into the sacrum, between your sacrum and the floor. What does that imprint feel like? Do you feel even the slightest amount weighted more to one side or the other? And then just keep going up the back of the body. So where you have space between your lumbar spine and the floor. Where you have a little arch there between the waist spine and the floor. So where the ribs rest, where the back ribs rest, can you sense from where the ribs are lying on the floor, the length of the thoracic spine. So from the top of your waist upward through the ribs, through that little cavern between your shoulder blades. Just feel into how the shoulder blades are placed. And then just take a moment feeling into your arms, sensing into the weight of your arms, the length of your arms. A feeling of symmetry or asymmetry. And any restlessness in your fingers. And then upward from tops of shoulders into neck and throat, and any tension or tightness or discomfort in the muscles of the neck and the bones of the neck. Sense upward from there into the lower mandible, into the jaw where the jaw meets ears. Sense the muscles of your face. Sense the weight of the back of your head. Take another 2 or 3 breaths. Bring in the heels, so the heels a little closer to the backs of your hips. So where the heels or ankles are standing more or less underneath your knees. And then take your right knee and just move your right knee more toward the foot of your mat, away from you, just more toward the foot of your mat. It's not very far, probably you can't even see that anything is happening if you're watching. So just see if find that felt sense of right knee moving more away from you. And what happens in the left side of your back? Feel weighted toward the left side of your back. So just a few more like that with just your right knee. Just point your right knee a little more toward the foot of your mat. Release it. Point it toward the foot of the mat, release it. You come back to balance, weight across the sacrum, point, feel a little shift, and then release. And then do that several times with your left knee. And release it. Press and release. You're really kind of pushing the foot, you're pushing into the ball of the foot a little, and pointing the knee toward the foot of the mat. Very subtle, but feel the shift. Couple more. And then extend the left leg. Left leg goes long to the floor. And then push your right foot again. So just press straight down through the right foot like you were going to try to lift up into bridge pose. And let the push of your right foot, you don't have to take the knee across. It's more just what happens when you push your foot. You get a little turn of the hips. You get a little roll of your hips to the left. So push down through the right foot and release. Push down through the right foot and then release. Feel some space happen. Create some space between the right lower back and the floor. A couple of more. So small movements here to begin. These are not big flexion and extension movements. These are just real tiny felt sense movements, and then switch. Take your right leg long, bring your left foot to the floor. Push down through the left foot. Keep pushing, just keep pushing and pushing without trying to turn anything necessarily. When does the turn happen? How far down do you have to push your foot to feel anything start to move? And movement happens through all of this coordinated action between what we do with gravity, how your muscles respond to help move your bones. Do one or two more down through the left foot. Bring both feet up to stand again. Heels underneath your knees. Your arms down alongside you. Let's press down through both feet and bring your hips up into bridge pose with your right arm up and over your head to the floor behind you. And then come back down with your spine, but leave your arm where it is. And then breathe in, come back into bridge pose. And then bring the right arm back down with you as your spine comes back down. Do two more. Leave the arm. Right arm. And then back down with the arm coming back down with you. Once more with the right arm. Feel your feet, feel the soles of your feet, making a deeper footprint in your mat or your blanket. Oops, forgot to leave my arm. And come back up, this last one. Yeah, so coordinate, leaving the arm and then bringing the arm back down, and do that 3 times with your left arm. So just keep pushing the 2 feet. Now take your left arm overhead, spine to the floor, hips to the floor. With your breath, you can inhale to come up, or you can exhale to come up. Last one. All the way back down. Bring your knees into your chest. And then pull your knees out a little wider toward the outsides of your rib cage. If you can reach up and grab your ankles or your feet. Happy baby pose. Just open the inner hips, the inner thighs. Take yourself from side to side. Rock yourself from left to right. Good. And then let your feet come to the floor and come over onto your side. Just take your time rolling from your back, from the back of your head onto your side. And all the way up. And set the blanket aside. Make your way to your hands and knees. As per usual. All fours. And even before you start to breathe, if you've started breathing and moving, start to breathe and move, just get a sense of what neutral spine feels like, of what just holding yourself up from the floor here now is like, in your hands, in your wrists, in your shoulders, in your neck, in your lower back, in your knees, and cushion up your knees again here if you need to. And then this feels stable. If you can manage your own weight on your hands and knees, then you push through. How many directions can you move your spine? How many movements can you find up and down, top to bottom, side to side? Feel through all of the capacity. Spine has a lot of capacity for rotating, flexing, extending, bending sideways. You can do all of those movements here on your hands and knees. Take 2 more breaths. And then from your hands and knees position, let's go back with the right foot. Come onto the ball of the right foot. Step up into a high push-up position. And then drop a knee. And drop the other knee. You'll come in and out of your weight-bearing capacity. We'll do a few more. I'm just going back in the same order, right leg back, left leg back, right knee down, left knee down. And then I'm going to switch and go back with my left, then up with my right, down left knee, down right knee. Hands stable, wrists stable, arms, elbows, shoulders, chest, upper back, stable, stable, stable. And then you can come and press back into child's pose. You can sit back just on your feet, hero's pose, roll your shoulders, loosen through your shoulders, just let the weight of your arms lift and drop. Let's go a little deeper into strength in your upper arms by holding the low push-up position. So you can have your knees on the floor for that if you like, or it's like a chaturanga. If you are used to that, familiar with that, where you come down into the low push-up, but just see how long you can hold yourself kind of hovering that inch or two off the floor. Okay, so if you want to do it with your knees on the floor, you're just back with your knees behind you and you fold your elbows until you get to the place where you can hold yourself with your strength, but keep everything from falling to the floor. And then maybe you try to push yourself back up. And then you maybe press back and stretch your arms out. And if you want to hold chaturanga with your knees off the floor, so you come in from the high push-up with your knees up, and then fold, hover, and drop my knees and my hips, and press myself back up that way, and press back. right? 2 more, right, with any adaptation modification that just lets you hold there, pause, feel all of this light up, and then come out. No set time to stay. Knees or no knees. Press up, press back. Once more. Up and back. Good. And then you can go child's pose, arms down alongside you. If you want to sit and just kind of stretch out your arms. So extend the biceps, extend the triceps, and side bend. Go from side to side here. Good. So we'll come back into all fours position and come into a downward facing dog from there. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, curl your toes under, send your hips back a bit, push the floor, lift your knees. You hover there for a bit. Feel your legs really come on and then come up and back. Good. And then just reverse that movement, right? Just bend your knees. Try to keep arms long, spine long, drop the knees. Come back up when you're ready, hips back. Push everything down to lift the knees. Float the knees. Feel your quadriceps light up and then down or facing dog. Come down, just bend your knees. Once more to come up. Good, and then we'll just take a few more breaths here. If you want to step out a little wider, you can. A little wider base of support, big breath. And then bring your feet up underneath your hips, bend your knees, slide your fingers back like a rag doll forward fold. One or two more breaths here. Good. And then come up, slowly come up, rise up. Come to the top of your mat. Let's pick up the right foot, turn it out, step it back. Reach forward, your arms overhead, warrior one. Exhale, arms down, extend the front knee. Inhale, warrior one. Right, to adapt this for like any issues you might have with your knees, if going too far into that flexion of your front knee irritates your knee at all, this doesn't have to be a wide stance. It can just be a nice soft bend of the knee or closer together between your 2 feet. Take one more. Bring your right foot forward, Pick up your left foot, turn it out, step it back. Hello. Inhale, come forward, reach up. In and out with the breath. Once more. Step forward. Mountain pose, stand in mountain pose, right? Just stand in mountain pose for a breath. Good. And then to balance, see if necessary, have yourself close to a wall or close to a piece of furniture that you can use to just stay stable, hold on to when you need to, if you need to, or you can do this just in the middle of your mat. And you want to pick up one foot. I'm going to pick up my right foot, and I'm going to reach down and just touch the floor with my left hand. Right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, both hands, and then come back up. And then try not to drop the foot, but drop the foot if you need to, just regain your balance. Bring the leg forward, take the leg back, balance on your left leg, reach down, touch the floor, come back up. Use the power of your leg, not only to balance, but to hold your weight. As you go down, and you come back up. So you could do this at the wall and just hold on to the wall with one hand, let the hand just slide down the wall. So you have another point of contact. Last one. So let the body move over that standing leg. Back to mountain pose, both feet on the floor, take a breath. Yeah, shift weight to your other foot, right? The other foot, the lifted foot goes back. Try to come down to the floor. Bring yourself back up if you can. Just bring that lifted foot a little forward and take it back. Touch the floor. A lot more wobbling and flailing. But do what you need to do. That's all just necessary, really, for keeping you from falling. Two more. Mountain pose. Okay, good. Good. And then triangle pose from here, right? So a couple of ways you can modify triangle pose. You can adapt triangle pose for anything you might need to adapt it for. Left foot forward, your right foot back, your right heel a little bit back, block or chair, right? And we'll just do, I'm going to start with the chair. So I have my bottom arm, palm, up on the seat of a chair, way high up, right? Which just gives us maybe a greater sense of having some more space through here, through the rib cage and the spine, so that we can kind of turn, reach up that top arm and drop it back. Block, you're just a little lower, right? And the block is maybe 5 inches lower than the seat of the chair. right? We can just continue adapting the pose, right? Or just, we have a whole spectrum of mobility, stability, and mobility. We'll go down on the block. You can always do it without a block, just hold on to your shin. One more breath in triangle pose. Reach up, stand up. Mountain pose, take a breath. Oh. Left foot back, your right foot forward, turned out. The chair, right? Again. A little more of that sense of length along the arm and down through the side of the ribs. Maybe a little more space for the rib cage to lift up and rotate. And with limited mobility, if there's a little less capacity to come more toward the floor, start at the chair, work your way down toward the block. Inside or outside of the front ankle. 2 more breaths. Reach up, come up. Mountain pose again, take a breath here. Good. Okay, and then I'm gonna leave this here just again to show what variations for coming into the standing balance on this side. So, and we'll come into it a little differently today. We'll come in from downward facing dog. So if you just go back to the back of your mat, bring your hands back out. Find your inverted V, soft knees. Take another breath here. Okay, so you can do this with the chair, with a block, or with no prop. And we're gonna just step forward the left foot. I just reach my left hand up onto the chair and then shift my weight forward. I could start with both hands on the seat of the chair, so I could, with some more confidence, lift that right leg back up behind me. But I want to turn my hips away from my standing leg. So I want to eventually get this hand off the chair and reach it up. And open the chest and make your arms wide like you were flying. You could do the same thing with the block, right? Where you come from down dog, left foot steps forward, hand up onto the block, and lift up. Another breath. Good. And then just find that kind of loose ragdoll uttanasana, forward fold. Good. And then we'll come back up. Yeah. Downward facing dog. We want to come in the same way. So from this fold, just stepping forward, coming forward through the right foot, reach for the seat of the chair, right? You can just immediately feel the stability under your hands, so your left leg could lift, your right leg could find the balance. Then, once you feel the stability, once you have a sense of the balance there, you can take the left hand away, reach it up, turn the chest, turn the ribs, turn the hips. Or if you're on the block. Right foot steps up. Find the block to balance your weight. See if you can get a little lighter under your right hand. Grace. If you fall, fall with grace. Last breath. Good. And then your fold again. Ragdoll, soft knees, forward fold. Good. And then come up. Okay. And then, so I have this chair here. So I can show an adaptive camel pose, right? If you're not using a chair, but maybe you have 2 blocks, you can put blocks under your palms and go back onto the blocks with your hands, right? Or if you're no blocks or just a single block, you might just hold the hips here, lean the whole body back, feel your quads, line up, push your quads forward, push your hips forward, and then rise up through your chest, pull your elbows back, drop your tailbone, lengthen the sacrum, lengthen the low back of the hips. Let back bend come from up here. And if you have a chair, you can lean back, grab onto the seat of the chair, and then from there, hips forward. Pause, take a breath. If you're comfortable with that, and this works well if you have only the 1 block, or you can continue to use the chair, right? If we can drop back. Hips forward, find the block with your left hand, reach your right arm up into the air. Look where it's comfortable for your neck. One more breath. You take your single block to your other outside ankle, outer ankle. Come down in between if you need to come down. If you feel any discomfort, if you feel any strain here in the low back, right? We're trying not to put a whole lot more arch in the low spine than there already is naturally. We want arch to come up here between your shoulder blades. So if you need to, just come down, take a gentle side to side rotation. And then we'll do one more. And lean back, engage the thighs forward, hips forward, get tall. Find your block under your right hand. Left arm up. And release. Okay. And then we can set all of that aside and come down to sit. Yeah, and then from your seat, and sometimes the hips want a little bit of height under them, right? So that the spine can be in its natural uprightness comfortably. And then we can rotate from here, right? But without disrupting length we want to have in the lower belly and the lower spine. So just take a breath in and reach up your right arm and take it across and down. Any comfortable seat, any comfortable position for your legs. Release, come up both arms, exhale, and the other way. Good, we'll let that go. Again, a comfortable cross. If you need to recross, and then come up again with your right arm. Let the left hand come out over to the floor next to you, reach over, side bend. At your own pace, inhaling to extend and exhaling to fold. And think about what you're wanting to happen here, right? Which is for the spine to be able to fold to one side, fold to the other side, fold through the spine itself, right? So not so much about where your arm goes, where you get your arms. And if you feel yourself more kind of rotating toward the floor, you can open the chest and get right up through the kind of what feels like a side seam in your rib cage. So you can sense the bones of the spine folding one way, folding the other way. So you have contraction happening over here, extension happening on the opposite side. And then loosen your shoulders, lift, drop, lift, drop, lift, drop. And then we'll come from there, set the blanket aside. Return to your back. Good. And then let's take the knees up, and right hand over right knee. Extend out through your left heel. Keep a little bend in your left knee. Maybe just grab your shin, and then let the legs fall wide under their own weight. But stay kind of loose at your knees and ankles. You could rock side to side here. One leg a bit extended, one leg a little bit extended, the other knee bent. Hold that knee in your hand. And then switch. Good, and then let that go, bring both feet to the floor. Let's take the hands together behind your head, interlace your fingers. Your feet on the floor, heels underneath your hips. You take a breath in here, and with your breath in, feel a little rise of your chest, a little arch in your spine, maybe arch in the back of your neck. You might look back slightly, and then on the exhale, you pull your elbows in, pick your head and your shoulders up off the floor, tighten down through the belly and lengthen the lumbar. Inhale, roll back down, press the elbows, arch the back, lift the chest, tilt your head back. Exhale, elbows in, roll up. So feel this as flexion and extension up and down the length of your spine. It should mimic cow pose and cat pose. Rounding, and then finding the arch, opening the chest, tilting the head back, extending the front of the neck, exhale, round. Just once more. Good. And then you can let the head go, arms down alongside you, take a breath. And let's come, we can just stay down with the head, down with the shoulders, down with the arms, and take your legs into a 90-degree bend. So if your knees are right over your hips and you're trying to flatten your lumbar spine, you're going to feel this contract and try to hold that. Bring your hands here to try to hold it. And you just keep re-engaging when you lose it, just re-engage when you lose it, but keep your knees over your hips. And then drop your toes, let one big toe find the floor, bring it back up. Let the other big toe find the floor, bring it back up. Go back and forth like that. Drop one big toe, drop the other big toe, and try not to lose your long, flat, in the floor lumbar spine. Just keep coming back to it. Just keep re-engaging as you need to. Try to hold it. Just keep going. You might just keep going until you need to stop. You might just go until you can't go anymore. Keep bringing the navel in, down, keep lengthening the lower back. Drop both feet to the floor, let that go. Legs long, all the way out long, arms long over your head. Good. So excellent to have support low in the abdomen, not just for the abdomen itself, but for your lower back, for that part of your lumbar spine that bears the most weight, right? As it gets closer to the sacrum in your pelvis, the vertebrae get bigger, the discs get bigger and thicker because it's bearing a lot more weight as it gets down to its lower end, and that's where issues happen, right? And so the musculature around that part of your lower back, lumbar spine, sacrum, very important to keep lots of strong support around those bones and those discs. So let's take a comfortable twist, right? Anything that feels like comfortable turn of your hips to one side. It lets your lumbar spine turn a little bit. You can go wide with your feet, up and over And you can move a little bit dynamically like that if you like, or if you want to just come up and bring your knees together, drop both knees to one side and do the fuller, a little deeper. Or reclined spinal twist. You can do that. Cross if you want to cross, or don't cross your knees. Good. If you're all the way over on one side, might come up and go the other way. Take 5 or 6 breaths. But right, and so anything else you feel like you might want to work in here briefly while we start to set up for Shavasana, and we'll do 10 more minutes, but we'll take either up to you. You can do the full 10 minutes in Shavasana, or you can do 5 minutes in Shavasana, come up and sit for 5. But just need to like shut it down a little bit early today so we can combine those last. Sometimes we go 15 minutes of combined Shavasana and sitting, but let's do that in a little abbreviated time tonight. So set up what you want to for Shavasana. So support, adjust your lighting if you need to, so you don't have a light shining down into your eyes, through your eyelids. You want to support what needs supporting. Head, knees, back. Right, so that you don't have to think about comfort versus discomfort. We'll do, since we're taking this all sort of together, do a little bit of guidance. So that we can rest, we can try to get the full benefit of a long Shavasana, but we can stay mindful to what it feels like to become relaxed and then to be in a mode of conscious relaxation. You might notice here, just right off the bat, is there any effort in your breathing? Can we just let the body breathe itself? And we cue that often just as a way to get the self out of the way of the breath. And observe, just observe how breathing happens. And watch it and let it be quiet. Oh, allow the breath to come and go. Allow the breath to come and go in its own time. You might just take the scan from head to toe. Or you can just stay with the breath. If you sense any amount of pause at the end of exhalation, can you rest in the pause? We'll take just another 2 or 3 minutes here. Feel free to spend those last 2 or 3 minutes in Shavasana, comfortable on your back. If you'd like to just sit for the last couple. You can come to a comfortable seat, just with your eyes still closed. Anchor attention in the senses and the breath. Wherever you are, take another 2 or 3 breaths. Good. So from your upright seat, if you are in a seat, find your way to a seat. If you're not, I just close here, reaching your arms up, overhead, palms together, and palms to your heart. So honor your commitment to making time for your practice. It's an honor to share practice time with you. So until next time, thank you for your time. Namaste. Have a wonderful evening.